Hello there, Ray here, and Minecon event just finished. The Minecon event is an event where they come together and talk about all the different changes that are coming to Minecraft, as well as other Minecraft related games. During the event, they talked a little bit more about 15, as well as giving the main theme for 1.16, which is going to be the Nether update. They'll be putting in new biomes for the Nether dimension, as well as new mobs and new mechanics with all these as well. I'll be going over all the new changes that they talked about during Minecon and point out how these future changes can affect the game. I'm really excited for these new changes, and let's get into the first thing that they showed during Minecon, which is the honey block. Now the honey block has a lot of properties very similar to the slime block, but it also has many unique ones as well. The first unique property is it's actually sticky on all sides. So mobs that move across it will be slowed down, not only on the top surface, but also on the sides as well. And they illustrate this by a player actually falling down beside this column of honey blocks, which is causing the player to slowly move downwards. It also has a property which makes it so you can hardly jump on it. So you try to jump, you can only jump a small portion off the ground, which makes a lot of sense since it is a honey block. Think of a big glob of honey and trying to jump away from it. But it also has the slime block mechanic where it will stick to other nearby blocks, as well as itself. They illustrate this by having a player flick a lever, moving a platform of honey blocks upwards. It also moves the stair and other nearby blocks that are touching it. This will really combine the properties of blocks and entities closer together, because oftentimes they kind of interact by themselves and they really don't mingle that much together. So it's going to be cool to see another block very similar to slime block that has properties that kind of interact with mobs, as slime blocks will push mobs that are in front of it with the bounciness of the slime. But with the new honey blocks, entities can also be on the side as long as they're touching it when the whole piston moves forward, and it moves the honey block as well. It's also going to move the entities, so the pigment would be moved over to the side with it. And I'm guessing this would also work underneath too, long as the mob is touching the block. This is a really cool property. It'll make it easier to move entities such as like mobs and stuff throughout your world, especially in places where you're repeatedly moving them. So maybe like villagers, you're constantly moving them, or like in a mob farm, you can even like extend this block and have a pigment over here and then pull it back, and it will pull the pigment over here and it can drop it downwards. And the honey block ability for stuff to fall alongside of it kind of get slowed down will be a great alternative to using like vines or ladders to reset the fall damage. So both of these are often used in mob farms, so the mobs fall for a specific distance. You'll see this like in my wither skeleton farm. That way the wither skeletons are a certain health once they get to the very bottom. You can also use vines, but both of these have a lot of problems with them, as some mobs will try to constantly climb on top of them. Like you'll see magma cubes as well as blazes trying to climb them. And to have a block that kind of resets the fall damage, you can put like one block down with a whole bunch of other normal blocks beside it, and then it'll kind of fall down, and then the block will reset the damage and it'll continue falling. It might also have some properties to do with falling as well. So like, slime is, mobs fall in it and they get bounced back upwards and they don't take damage. Maybe these will also allow so mobs don't take damage, but they don't bounce at all. So maybe they'll just fall down, not take damage, and just stick into it. It's a really cool mechanic that they're adding with these as well, that you cannot actually really jump very high once you're on top of them. You can use this to prevent mobs from jumping off of them. So you can actually have a farm that's kind of staircase like this, where mobs will constantly be able to move downwards, but they won't be able to jump back upwards. And hopefully they make the AI mobs so they're able to know that they can't jump upwards. Otherwise the mob will constantly sit there and keep trying to jump upwards. And this is actually a problem we actually currently see in the game, when a mob's like sitting on a slab like this and there is 1.5 blocks for them to jump. Some mobs will think that they can try to jump on top of this, so they'll sit here and they'll just constantly try jumping, and that's something we don't want to occur with these new honey blocks. By far the coolest mechanic will be the ability to move mobs and entities by not only pushing them directly in front of them, but also having them stick to the sides and pulling them, and having that ability just to stick them on any sides of the block and able to move them about. Plus they also have the same properties as slime blocks do, as if you have a whole bunch of them together, they'll stick together, and they'll also stick to other blocks that are touching them as well. And of course the new honey block is going to be made out of the new honey items that came into game. So we got honeycomb, and there's also honey in a bottle. Most likely they'll probably use honeycomb. They might use a little bit of both, or they might use all honey bottles to make these. The problem is honey bottles aren't stackable, so if you're trying to make a whole bunch of these honey blocks, it'd be super annoying to try to craft them with honey bottles. So hopefully they use honeycomb. I don't know if there'll be like instant break, very similar to like the slime, which makes it really easy to use it as a scaffolding block. Like on the ProtoTech SMP server, we use tons and tons of slime blocks just to use them as a scaffolding block. So we just put it down, and then we can easily tear it down by punching it. It would be cool if it was instantly mined, but it might not make a lot of sense since it's like honey, which you think of being very difficult to remove from an area once you put down. I would think maybe a shovel would help with a honey block and make more sense than like an axe or a pickaxe. Now in the image, the honey block looks very similar to a slime block where it's somewhat transparent with that little centerpiece in the middle. But in this current snapshot, there is quite a bit of problems to do with rendering. As you can see, like different sides of pigment are lit up differently, and like the fire animation is like twice as fast, and the lava animation is also quite fast as it flows. There's also some pretty strange stuff, like if I go into this nether portal, look what it does to my character. It's like so messed up. Here, let's watch it again. Wah, 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 wah. Pretty crazy. The whole world is getting flattening out when it's sending you through the portal. There's also some pretty strange ones to do with end portals. If I put an end portal here, you don't actually see the top of it, but if I rotate my character, you can actually see it in part of my screen. Kind of difficult. It's if I face north, it lines up. If I face different direction, it starts to, you can see it sliding around the player. Kind of looks like a UFO. Yeah, all these bugs are just little problems to do with rendering, and they should definitely fix them before the full release. Now there is a lot of entities in the game, so just think of all these different types of entities being able to be moved using a honey block. I could just think of all these crazy ideas. Holy moly, what the heck is wrong with... Somebody fix their turtle. That is one messed up turtle there. Oh wow, it's so strange. The actual mob is down here. Let's see, I'll kill it. There's a baby one. Oh, the baby one has its head way down inside the block. And it's pretty crazy to think all these different types of entities being able to be pulled by the honey block. I can already think of some pretty cool farms that you can do with this. And for quite a while, there's kind of this thing where blocks kind of do their thing and mobs kind of do their thing. And I think it's really cool when they kind of mingle the two together, where mobs kind of interact with different blocks, and that's pretty much what they did with the honey block here. And I think it'll mostly be used in situations where mobs are really difficult to move, especially ones that can't be like put inside of minecarts or boats, or in situations where you're trying to move large amounts of mobs. So maybe if you have like a whole ton of blazes all in one area, you come in with one honey block, you stick them to them, pull all of them over all at once. I think that's what makes it more efficient than using like boats or minecarts, having the ability to move large amounts of mobs all at once with them. The next new block that they showed is a target block. It kind of looks like a wool block with a bunch of red lines around it, kind of looking like a target. And you can use arrows and shoot at it. And the closer your arrow is to the center of it, the higher a redstone signal can be put out by it. So it's like a redstone mechanic. We'll see it in the redstone tab with all these other ones we got right here. And it's really cool because it reminds me similar to like the item frame, the way the item frame is turned, puts out different signals, but here it actually uses where the arrow is according to where the block center is. And like the center would be like a signal strength of 15, where the edges would be like a signal strength of 1. And this is something that's been highly requested throughout the years of Minecraft, just having the ability to kind of interact more with the game by converting entities, which are like your arrows, over into something that is a block, like the target block. And it's a redstone mechanic as well, so it's always cool to see new redstone mechanics added into the game. When it comes to crafting this up, it's hard to say what it'll be. It might just be something as simple as like some wool blocks. It may be something else that's red coloring, so maybe some red dye or something. But it might also, since it's redstone mechanic, it might actually have some redstone dust that goes into it, like some redstone torches, something that makes it a little more expensive, as it will be in the same category as all these components here. This is really cool for people that want to make like a base and shoot in the center, open up a door. It's just another way of interacting with the game. Instead of pushing buttons or doing other stuff to open and close doors and stuff like that, you can now use your bow and arrow. And with the targets on all sides, meaning that you can even like put this up in the air and have it kind of hang down so that the player can shoot from underneath to activate stuff. It'll be interesting to see how it interacts with like pistons, if it just happens to move the block, if it can be moved at all, if that will affect it. Like here you see the arrow got moved over here. And then if you would somehow move the arrow into the block, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff you're going to have to kind of test out to see if it works. And if the player can shoot like arrows at it, it's very possible that like pillagers or even skeletons can shoot arrows at it. So I mean, you can even have mobs kind of interact with it. So you get some pretty cool outcomes from that as well. Definitely something that map makers could use, as well as people that enjoy making mini games in Minecraft. When you normally think of like a target practice, you normally think of like a target stuck to like a hay bale or something. So maybe even cost like a hay bale to craft this up. It would be cool if they could somehow like use this target block also with pressure plates so that pressure plates can be on top of it and somehow they can work together to get more possibilities out of it. Although this would give you some pretty interesting mechanics as you shoot and it would power the pressure plate as well as power this target here. So it'd be kind of fun to mess around with it. And then he shows some images of them being used, how like the player activates different stuff, how it can activate all sorts of redstone stuff, as well as how closer you shoot towards the center, the more redstone signal it will produce. So there was a bit of confusion during Minecon as they showed quite a few different new features, but they didn't really explain which versions they were coming out in. And they might not said the version just because Bedrock kind of is on a different version, and sometimes the updates don't come as clear as they do for the Java edition. So Bedrock might actually get like two of our versions put into one. And they did say that they're trying to kind of work towards having all the editions come out with similar stuff at similar time. So the current 1.15 version is going to be about the bees as well as bug fixes that they're trying to do, and they're also going to sneak in other little updates in there as well. Now the main thing that they released during Minecon was the updates that they're going to do to the Nether, and that's all going to be in versions 1.16. Now during Minecon, they also voted for the mountain as to be the biome that they're going to update. And they did mention during Minecon that they're going to try to update the other two biomes that they talked about as well as the biomes that they voted upon last year during Minecon, which was the desert and the savanna. But they said the changes that are going to come to the mountain biome is not even going to be in 1.16, it's going to be in a future version beyond that. Now in my previous video I went into a lot of detail about the mountain biome and everything that could come with it. So if you haven't seen it, I'll link it down below. So the honey block will probably come out with 1.15 and the target block will probably come out with 1.16. So the name for the 1.16 update is going to be the Nether update. So they're going to be doing a revamp of the Nether dimension, especially to do with the biome. So currently in the Nether there is only one biome. It's called the Nether biome. It used to be called Hell. So no matter where you go throughout the world, you're going to kind of see similar terrain and blocks in the world. What they're going to add is biomes that are unique to the Nether, similar to you see in the overworld. So as you travel throughout the world, you move from one biome into another biome, and you see different types of terrain, block types, and even mob types. And that's what this first image is showing here, is showing one of the new biomes. This biome is called SOULSAND Valley. You can see it still has the cave theme that we see in the Nether with blocks below us as well as blocks above us. It is pretty much old soul sand, but you can see these stalagmites and stalactites that are kind of connecting the top and the bottom of the worlds together. You also notice there's a new light source, and these are fires. They're blue fires, and what they said is when you light fires on a soul sand, it will put off a blue color, not only in the Nether and all the dimensions. So you get these really cool looking fires now, and I'm guessing soul sand will also work like netherrack where it won't burn out. And it looks like the entire biome is made out of soul sand as well as something that's very similar to soul sand. So maybe it'll be kind of like a soul sand stone block of some sort. As the typical stuff you can mine up with like a shovel, and this stuff you might have to mine up with like a pickaxe similar to netherrack. But it has a very similar texture. It's more smeared in one direction. We also can see from this image that there is fossils, very similar to the fossils that you find like in deserts and swamps that are hidden underneath the ground. But these are exposed on the surface. This brings a little bit more life to the area, just showing that there has been mobs here that were really big and died at some point. And notice also in the background, the fog, like here, the fog in the image is bluish, where the fog normally in Nether is kind of a reddish. So that's really cool that they're bringing in this kind of blue to kind of cyan color also into the Nether dimension. It's not just going to be all reds and yellows. And the whole kind of blue theme also reminds me of kind of fungus, mushrooms, and we do see like mushrooms growing here in the Nether. And I hope that one of their biomes is going to be kind of a mushroom themed or fungus themed. And there is also lava coming in this biome as well. If you see in the distance, there is some lava flowing down from some areas of it. So the next new biome that they showed is the NETHERWART forest. You can definitely see the theme with the NETHERWART blocks being part of like the leaves of these trees. These also might be some kind of fungus or like a mushroom. You also can see the trunks are made out of something that's sturdy and grayish, but they also have these kind of vines or even veins crawling up them. The ground itself is also different. It's not netherrack. It looks something between kind of like dirt with like vines in it or like blood vessels in it. It's very cool looking. And there's even vegetation on top of it. You can see these kind of like little red chunks of grass. They're kind of short and they merge very well with the rest of the land. Looks really cool. There's also two mushrooms that you can see. There is kind of a bright red mushroom, and you can also see there is kind of like a blue mushroom with red dots on it. So it'll be really interesting to see what these blocks can do. Are they just for aesthetics? Can you grow them? Can like you grow these little red mushrooms, make the really big reddish mushrooms, and can like the blue mushrooms also make big blue mushrooms? And with the next image, you can also see a couple other things. You can kind of see how the dirt works. It is kind of like another dirt where there is a bottom dirt piece, and then there is kind of a reddish piece, which is what you normally associate with like the grass in the overworld. And there are some areas in the world where it's just the dirt without the reddish tops to them. Also in this image, you can see some quartz ores kind of hidden around the edges, and there is lava flowing down and around all this stuff, and it's not burning, so the nether grasses aren't flammable, and also the mushroom pieces aren't flammable as well. Here's a close-up view of the new mushroom and the texture of the grass, as well as those grass blocks down below. It all really goes very well together. And I like it how the mushrooms have like very distinct spots, like it's a red mushroom with these big orange blots on it, and it's that kind of cyan colored mushroom with big orange blots on it. And in this image, you can kind of see how the biomes kind of switch. Here we got that NETHERWART forest biome that's moving over into your typical nether biome. And just like biomes that kind of switch in the overworld, there will be some circumstances where it will be sort of an abrupt change, but this looks pretty natural. But I'm guessing with the other biomes that they add, like the SOULSAND Valley, it might look sort of an abrupt change going from one to the other. They also showed the blue variant of this biome. So it looks like we got some kind of blue netherwort blocks being the leaf blocks on these things. They also have trunks that are very similar to other ones, which are kind of grayish blue. But instead of having like red vines, they're having these blue vines or blue veins crawling up them. We also can see that inside the trees, there's actually glowstone that generates with it as well. As in the nether, it is mostly pretty gloomy. I have my brightness turned up quite high in this world. By putting these little light sources in, it might make a really cool effect coming from like this forest as it's glowing. I'm not sure if they went ahead and just placed these glowstone blocks in by hand, or these normally come up with the trees. I'm guessing they would eventually want some kind of light source to come with the tree, but maybe they should come up with like a new light source rather than just using glowstone. Maybe they should have come up with something similar to like end rods, which put off light, kind of have them dangling underneath. And they also said the forests are going to be very dense, kind of hard to meander through them. And this does seem to be the case, as a lot of the mushrooms aren't very straightforward. They have a lot of dropping pieces that could easily interrupt your movement through there. So it'll be really exciting to see if we can farm up like the mushroom trees as well as the grass, and if the nether grass blocks will actually spread, which it looks like they might since I've seen some dirt ones in there. But overall, these are some really cool blocks, especially for builders to throw into different builds to make them look nice. It'll be really cool to see if we can farm these up, as the height of the mushroom varies quite a bit, so it'll make it more challenging to try to build a farm to collect all those blocks. Now they also showed some new mobs that can be found inside these biomes. They call these PIGLIN beasts. That's just a temporary name similar to the Illager beast, which later got changed to Ravager. So they're asking the community to give a name to this new thing. So it looks kind of like a warthog, and it kind of has these hairs on its back, bristles up, has these big huge tusks, and it blends in pretty well with the nether, just being more pinkish. And they did say that these PIGLIN beasts are going to drop some type of food source, as they made a remark that this is going to be like kind of official food that you can get from the nether. Now there is already some food sources you can get. You can actually make mushroom soup by taking the mushrooms that you find here and making soup if you have some wood. Or you could just kill pigmen and eat rotten flesh, but this is actually going to be kind of a sustainable food source that you can get in the nether. The pigs themselves look a little higher than one block. They might be like 1/2 block or 2 blocks tall. And they're kind of lengthy as well. It might be 2.5 to 3 blocks long. And they probably will be able to go through fire and not take any fire damage, because they are in the nether and pretty much everything here will have to not take fire damage, otherwise they will have a trouble living here. They also show the PIGLIN beast coming in and attacking the player. It just comes in and charges the player, does quite a bit of damage. Looks like it did about 3 hearts there. And it's pretty big compared to your normal pig. It has these white beady eyes, which are really scary. It looks like it's like undead or something. And you can also see the spawn egg, which they have there held in the hand, which they might change the color of it, because currently it looks very similar to like the pufferfish spawn egg. Now there is quite a few different food sources already in the game of Minecraft, so it's hard to say what this will bring, other than being a really good food source to get while you're moving throughout the nether. And this will make it kind of more interesting, as these mobs are going to be hostile pretty much all the time, it looks like. So it's a bit different than pigmen, which there's quite a few of them in the world, but as long as you don't kind of interact with them, they don't attack you. But you might have these big kind of hordes of these PIGLIN beasts, and if you ever come walking through the area, they're going to come in and attack you. That's one thing that kind of separates the nether from the other 2 dimensions, as you can kind of fly around with it with the elytra, but since it's more of like a large cave, you do have to kind of traverse it carefully and walk at some point. That's what I really like about the Nether, and that's why I think it's going to be really cool to have these new Nether biomes. It's kind of like walking through some really massive caves with some crazy stuff growing there, as well as weird creatures living there. They also showed another new mob that's going to be in the Nether. These are piglins. And these are going to be different than the pigmen, but they're also going to rename the pigmen piglins. So it's kind of confusing, but they're not getting rid of the old pigmen. They're keeping them. They're adding this new mob called piglin, but its name will probably also change as well, as they're going to change the guy's name over to piglin. So these might be kind of similar to like illagers and villagers, because the piglin mob is going to have very similar characteristics as villagers, as you can kind of barter with them to get new items. Now, it sounds to be different than like villager trading. Obviously, they don't want to repeat the same thing twice. And they said it's going to be more of a kind of a rough type of trading and not so straightforward as the villagers. So it's really exciting to see what they're going to offer and see if we can also have some cool, like maybe piglin trading halls instead of villager trading halls, where we have tons of different piglins but offering really cool stuff. Now the mob itself looks very similar to like a player crossed with a pig. You can see like the floppy ears, you can see like the snout as well as the little beady eyes, similar to what we've seen with the piglin beast. They're wearing some kind of like tunic that looks kind of leatherish, and they do have these golden swords in their hands, and they also have other weapons as well. In this image here, you can actually see them attacking piglin beast. So they're coming in with their swords, with their crossbows, and they're shooting them down. It kind of reminds me of kind of like a tribal situation where these guys are going out hunting for some pig. So maybe they're going to be more nomadic and kind of wildish than we see with the villagers who kind of sit down and live in their little village. Maybe these guys will kind of wander about and do their own little thing. And then you have to kind of find them among the worlds and do your bartering with them. They also showed a clip of the piglins automatically attacking wither skeletons. Apparently they don't like them, so they take them on and fight them, and wither skeletons are actually fighting back as well. So maybe you can recruit a bunch of these piglins to come and help you kill wither skeletons, get wither skeleton skulls. It will be interesting. It'll also be kind of interesting to see what these guys drop. Are they be very similar to villagers, which really don't drop anything, or they could be more like pigmen, as these guys are holding swords and crossbows. You think they at least drop those and maybe some XPs as well. But it looks like since they are kind of an intelligent mob and they do got a weapon, they might have quite a bit of health and be hard to kill as well. And they might actually work together similar to like pigmen. They show another image of a player in gold armor, and they kind of said that when the player's wearing gold armor, the piglins really kind of ignore the player. So these piglins might be hostile towards other people that are in the area, especially if they're not wearing any gold pieces of armor. I think that's a really cool way to bring kind of the gold armor back into the game, giving people a reason to wear it, try to avoid hostile interactions with these piglins. But they don't like people opening chests, so right above this player's head there is a chest, and as soon as he opens it up, the piglin comes over there and starts attacking him, despite him having the gold armor on. So they're very territorial and like to protect their loots that are around them. Now they didn't really show any homes for these piglins, so it makes me kind of think they're going to be more of the nomadic type. But then again, they also are trying to protect chests, so maybe they'll be in some kind of place where there's chests, or maybe they'll be in like nether fortresses with a chest nearby. They'll come from quite a distance trying to protect that chest that you're going into. Now having a whole biome change is a pretty big deal. They did that back in 1.7. And 1.7 came with a whole bunch of new biomes for the overworld, so maybe they're going to do kind of something similar here to the Nether, add a bunch of new biomes. They already showed us kind of 3 distinct biomes: the SOULSAND Valley, the NETHERWART Forest, as well as the blue NETHERWART Forest. And even if they just add those 3 more to the Nether, it would bring so much more life to it than where it's currently at. They're also trying to bring more life to Nether, as saying that you can actually have your base here and do other stuff. They're kind of wanting to bring players use this biome more than just traveling through it. So they mentioned that you can actually set your spawn point in the Nether. So once you die or once you go through like the end portal, you can automatically end up back in the Nether dimension. This is pretty exciting. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, because currently if you have a bed in the Nether, it will just explode. So maybe they'll use a different type of mechanic rather than a bed. But it's really cool to actually bring the Nether up to like the similar situation as the overworld, where people don't just see it as a place to travel really quickly through the overworld, as most people will use like another portal, hop into the Nether. Traveling Nether will take you 8 times the distance in the overworld, so they mostly just use it for that. I talked about quite a few other things during the Minecon event. Mostly had to do with like the Bedrock Edition, as well as a lot of the stuff that's going on over there. Now they did also talk about another sneak peek to do with the Java Edition in a future update. The same guy that brought us some brown mushrooms by kind of asking for it during the last Minecon event, and it got introduced later on. Corey went ahead and this Minecon said he wanted to have illagers added, and he thinks it's going to be added as they now have the infrastructure to add it, and he would really like to see it put into the raids. I also think it could fit in there very well, kind of as a high tier boss that comes at the very end of a raid. If you guys don't remember what illusioners are, you can actually sell them in with creative, but they're not in survival. They look like this, and they have some pretty crazy properties, like they go invisible, and they can make duplicates of themselves. And yeah, they shoot a bow as well. They do a bunch of other weird things. They give you blindness, and they move really fast, and if you try to hit them, they'll try to make duplicates of themselves, and the actual real one is in the center, but all these are actually fakes. It's pretty crazy looking. You kind of see invisible particles in the center. It's going to be a real challenge to have them be part of a raid, and I'm really looking forward to it. The actual real one is right here in the center. I guess you can't even see him when you're in spectator mode. So that's another really cool thing we got to look forward to in the future versions. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions about Minecon as well as the upcoming changes that are coming to the vanilla game. And I really had a lot of fun making this video, going over all the things that I think we can do with the new changes. So if you guys did enjoy this, be sure to go ahead and drop a like as well as share it with someone else. And if you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and subscribe. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.